Alright, sit. Hey everybody, my name's Jake. You probably don't know who I am. That's fine. Um, I started, I found out about Bitcoin in like 2010. Then there was a lot of shit that happened. And wound up launching a couple of Cosmos chains. And launched a product. Your project's called DAO. And I don't know. Now I'm back in Ethereum land because the vibes are great in Ethereum. Like, much better vibes here. My talk is called Full Stack Decentralization now, and it's really a call to returning to the vibes of 2015 or 2016. Who was there? Like, does anyone remember 2015, 2016 Ethereum? If you weren't there, this was kind of actually like the best time. This was like a time of just envisioning some remarkable future, right? Like, there was this like dream that we were gonna like decentralize Uber and have decentralized social media, and that this would happen now. And then it's years later, and stuff is not nearly as cool as what we were thinking of in 2015 and 2016, right? Where's the decentralized Uber? Where's the decentralized social media? We've just got a million like EVM L2s and L1s. Great. Where's all the fucking apps? Sorry, I want the apps. If you're an app builder, come talk to me. The original Ethereum tech vision was really based. So like, let's start thinking about full stack decentralization again. Like, right? Smart contracts are cool, but they're not that smart, right? They're not aware of anything. They're not self-aware. They're not aware of things that are happening on chain or off chain, right? I think thanks to new primitives like actively validated services, like we're about to see things like change really rapidly. We need off-chain more compute, right? We need to do a lot of stuff. The decentralized AWS is definitely a dream. The reality is maybe a little bit different than the dream, but I think we can all agree that the future is more than smart contracts, right? That we need to have like full stack decentralization that's like serverless functions, file and data storage, decentralized GPU compute, right? Otherwise, Sam Altman's gonna be our hopefully benevolent like AI overlord. Um, what we really want to do is empower you to make powerful decentralized ABSs, but really more importantly, make great user experiences for people, right? Because no one actually really cares about the fact that you're an ABS, even if you are. So we want to introduce our first product, which is going to be production ready in Q1, and we'd love to talk with you about it. This is for ABS builders out there, and what it is a WASI runtime. Now, how many of you have ever heard of WASI before? Amazing. One person. Cool. You've heard of actively validated services before, I assume. Okay, this is great crap. So what is Waves? Well, it's a WASI runtime for ABSs. So think of this as one ABS that can run many WASI components, right? So right now in EigenLayer, you have your Ethereum validator, right? And then you have your like Docker image or whatever that ABS is, right? And you register your service on EigenLayer, and then the operators all opt in, and then your software finally at some point starts running, right? This is not like AWS where you just click a button and like deploy something, right? Like that's what we want to get to, right? Well, with Waves, you still have to go through the process of actually setting up the ABS, but once you set it up, you've got a much more dynamic computing environment where you can actually like deploy new parts of your application on, right? Maybe you're building some sort of game or maybe you're building a prediction market and you constantly need to deploy new oracles, right? Like, oh, we need an oracle for this crazy thing. We need an oracle for this like celebrity like dating quiz game. I don't know. Or maybe you just want to like deploy a bunch of agents. I don't know. I think the really cool thing though is like not just that you can run a bunch of different like services on top of one ABS. Like the really cool thing is the composition. Like services are great in and of themselves, right? But it's great to have an AI agent service, and it's great to have a ZK proof service, and it's great to have an Oracle service. But what's more fun is if we can compose them together, right? Maybe this is how we can make smarter protocols, right? Or intelligent protocols. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna rant a little bit about WASI and WASM and WASI, and I'll show off some demo stuff and take questions. The secret sauce behind our tech stack is at Layer is that we just use good open source technology and we contribute to good cutting edge open source technology. Waves is made with WebAssembly. It's made with WASI. WebAssembly, you might be familiar with it. It's another virtual machine. It's really efficient. It runs on your phone. WASI stands for WebAssembly System Interface, and this gives code access to lower level functionality, like the ability to make network calls, for example, or GPU processing, or file storage, or running on a trusted execution environment, or I/O, or random number generation, or the clock. Great. These are useful things to build programs with. Unfortunately, the Move programming language does not have support for networking calls. I regret to inform you. Did you move? That was a joke and no one laughed. I'm sorry.
I did too.
Yeah. So WASI is really cool because you can actually do like real programmer stuff, right? And in fact, like measured up against Docker, right? Like, okay, we got Docker. Why would we use anything else? Well, you can actually use both together, but like really, it's the overhead of imagine you have to run 1,000 different programs, right? Well, think of the container size of a Docker image. You don't just have your program in there. You've got a whole Linux operating system, right? And that adds a lot of space. And so every single one of those you add is going to add a lot more. Versus like WASM, we can compile it to like less than like kilobytes of code, right? Like you've much like smaller. Really helps. In terms of performance, like both running at native speed, right? Like startup time though is where WASM really shines though, which is like to start up a Docker container, again, you're running your Alpine Linux inside, right? Like there's some boot time to that, whereas like WASM is much more instantaneous, right? This allows you to make more efficient use of your compute resources, and there are a lot of operators of AVSs that are losing money these days, and would love to make some. Really cool thing about WASM though is it runs in the browser, and we really want to make full stack decentralization. That means we should be able to run things ourselves, right? That's really the only way to get privacy, right? ZK doesn't alone give you privacy, right? If you have you want to make a ZK proof and you give it to somebody, right, so they can make the proof for it, you just have broadcasted, it's not private anymore, right? Like being able to generate proofs locally on your device, super cool. Being able to run and attest to different things, right? There's all these really cool ZK TLS stuff that's happening. There's all these really cool, you could even run your own Oracle, right? This is maybe a different thing, but maybe there's certain types of activities that you want users to be able to be their own Oracle, right? They're attesting. When I visited the website, it looks like this, Yeah. Anyway, WASM and WASI are really cool, and they're so cool that even the founder of Docker is really stoked about them. Yeah, I already made this point. And the really cool thing is people can just write programs in languages they know. Python will even work. We actually have a Python example, and it's not as fast as the Rust example, but it works. And obviously we're Rustaceans. We love Rust. We're Rust maximalists actually. But if people want to write components in Python or Go or whatever, we won't judge them too much. But yeah, the really cool thing is composition. I don't think a lot of AVS teams are really thinking about this, but this is actually how you make interesting user experiences for people. Or really cool ARB and trading bots, depending on what your interests are. But really being able to compose a bunch of different things. It's really cool. So imagine we had a DAO. We're all in a DAO together. And it's a pain to vote new members into the DAO. You all seem like cool people. You seem really cool. You want to join the DAO. I don't want to have to convince everybody else to vote every time we want to add a new member, right? It's a big pain. So what if instead we vote as a DAO to have an agent, an actively validated agent. And that agent has the system prompt that we control, and in it, we express like, hey, if you have this NFT collection, you're in the DAO. Or if you like certain kinds of music, like these are the kinds of people we want, right? So you imagine that like someone might pay to chat with an agent, right? That generates a task, right? Then we compose that with an oracle that checks for NFT ownership, and then we have like an LLM evaluation that evaluates like whether or not to let this person in the DAO, and then in the end, an on-chain action, which is like minting them an NFT, which lets them in a DAO. And that was actually our demo. This is a little bit spread out, but and it's also kind of a hack. But yeah, we're trying to also make some UI for uploading these services and stuff like that. I'm happy to show you all more demos of those if we have time. But here, like they're like chatting with the agent. It's checking to see if they like have a particular type of NFT to get into the DAO. Now it's like asking this person more questions. It's like, what's your favorite album? Yeah, it really likes Radiohead, so amazing. And now it's in the DAO. At Layer we have some pretty like next level visions. Like again, the first thing we're shipping is waves, right? Beautiful little waves, and that's going to be on Eigenlayer, or Ethereum, and then like OP stack chains. We're looking to add support for other chains and ecosystems soon. We'd love to talk with like people that want to have layers or WABs on top of their chain, or we also want to talk with people that are building actively validated service. So if you're building an actively validated service and want to play with cool tech, amazing. That'd be great. Or yeah, if you just have questions, I don't know. I'm also happy to. How much time do I have?
We have about 6 minutes. Would it be enough to show the demo?
Sure. So this is like kind of broken. So this what we're building like a restaking yarn, which is like because I think the Eigenlayer one. I mean this will integrate with Eigenlayer. But this allows you to like kind of see your staked things and the different programs you're restaked to, and like kind of just like visualize like that commitment, right? We have like a service viewer, right? So you like an application can have a list of its various different services, right? Like we can look at this Square service, and we can see what assets are like securing this service, and like the various different types of operators, as well as like the task queue for the service. Here we can actually do the classic ABS thing of squaring numbers. Everyone, this is like, if you're into ABSs, you understand why squaring numbers is, this is, wow, really, really exciting. Interestingly, this is also running on an all Rust like custom chain stack, and that will be ready at some point, but it's gonna take a while. Yeah, sweet. So we squared some numbers. What's more interesting, I think, is like having UI to like deploy new components to your service, like through governance or potentially other means, right? Maybe you have some economic competition where people are competing for like the resource space of like the ABS, but I like having UI to like just, hey, upload something and pay a transaction fee and it starts running. Amazing. Like that to me is like closer to like AWS than having to go recruit operators. Yeah, there's kind of more stuff to show, but it's also like a lot to explain. Like, but we're trying to actually get some feedback on. Like, I'd be really curious to learn what like the best restaking you guys have seen is visualizing the all the different like relationships, the economic relationships of, yeah, it's a lot. The main thing though we're shipping is WAFs, right? And it's just like like that square component is actually like the Python example that I showed a screenshot earlier. Yeah, any questions?
All right. I think there's no question for now, but I think I would love to chat with you after this. So we still have some space. So yeah, thank you very much, Jake from Layers. Very interesting.
Cool.
Okay, all right. Big applause to Jake.